and welcome to the podcast Melody and Friends, where I will be taking a virtual tour around the world and interviewing all kinds of wonderful people. And today we land very close to myself here in Birmingham, Alabama. Actually, that's where I live as well. And we are going to take a visit with my friend Elisa Sproule and talk about her book, Toxic Vows. Welcome, Elisa.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's so good to see you and your wonderful smile.
For people that don't know anything about you, I want you to dive into your story a little bit, and then we're going to take a fun journey down through your book.
Well, the first thing is, if you'd ever told me that I'd be sitting before women or other, just speaking on some of the times that I've gone through, I would have absolutely, that I did not know that I was going to make it through. I just had no idea. Back in 1992, and we won't do the math or anything, how far back that is, but I was standing at Michigan Speedway. My husband's Clifford Allison. Yes, the brother of Davy Allison and the son of Bobby Allison. And it was a beautiful day. It really was. We were not expecting anything but nothing but smiles that day. And I had we were just set. We had one more lap to go. Actually, there were about two more laps to go in practice for that day. Then that was the day, and we would sum it all up and go on to the next thing. When I noticed something wrong in the car, he had told me it was what they call loose on the track, and that the guys had made an adjustment, but something happened, and I watched his car slam at 185 miles an hour into a concrete wall. At that moment, the Lord just spoke to me. That's all I and just said, it's Baskin Robbins. Now, Baskin Robbins is an ice cream shop that if you ever go there, you take a number and they call on that number. And Clifford always believed that when his time came, that he would exactly do that, whether it was walking the mailbox or being in a race car. So I knew that we were tragically in trouble. I ran as fast as I could to the race car. So to make a long story short, yes, my brother-in-law, Davy, flew in. He was actually in the plane when he learned what was happening. I raced to the hospital. I was immediately put into a car and taken with myself and my father-in-law, Bobby Allison. We were taken to Jackson Memorial. I beat the ambulance there. So either everything had to be really good or really bad. So I waited, and they took me into a room, hurried me into a room, and this guy came in, this physician came in, and he told me that I'm so sorry. And I'm trying to still figure out for what, because this is either really good or really bad. And he said he didn't make it. And my legs just, at that time I just collapsed. We were soulmates. And so anyway, long story short, I came back later that night. I came back to Birmingham, Alabama, and we had have three children. And I would spend time just trying to do my best to hold on. But at the same time, God was so good to me. And it was even in dreams or times moments that I just didn't think I could make it through. He was still giving me the peace that passes all understanding. And I'm like trying to figure out why and how this can be, because I was so numb. So what happened, I believe, at that time to today, if I want to look back over it, is I learned to love. I learned to care. I learned to feel in a different fashion. The pain that I felt was different than I had ever felt before. I didn't ever want to feel it again. I began to be very anxious about everything, loss of even our children. So it was just, God had to just take me by the hand and just say, okay, I gotcha. I gotcha. And he did. He did. So I began to, like I said, begin to just feel a different way, and also to interpret, have the interpretation of pain and the hurt that I may see somebody else in, to be able to feel their pain, which is a good thing and a bad thing, really. So, anyway, but you'd like to say, okay, well, all right, life became perfect and everything was great and wonderful. And I would like to tell you that, but I would be lying to you because one thing after another, within 11 months, we lost Davy. And I worked with him. We were very close. I watched a family that is like this huge, huge oak that nothing could touch it, began to just fall apart. And everybody was kind of losing it, to be honest with it. But we walk out the door and you had to smile. So it became very, very difficult. So I learned how to function. It would be later on that I would finally take a stand and say, okay, I have to move forward in my life, which meant I had to step out of my glass house into the world. And once we do that, we begin with other feelings. And I would get into a relationship because that's what everybody else around me had. That's what everybody else wanted me to do. And I didn't want that. And even the relationship was not anything that I needed at that time that I can see now, but I hurt. And then I just really seemed to learn and understand that this is life and this is how it is. And nothing's ever going to it's never going to be perfect, nor are we, but that God is going to hold us through. And I had betrayal just totally slapped in my face. The first thing I thought of was, I don't deserve this. Why, God? Why? And I think that's our question, but we have to ask questions to get answers. And God wants us to ask them. It is fine to say why. It's also fine to say it with an attitude, because I had an attitude. I got angry, and it was just grief, betrayal, grief, betrayal, grief, betrayal, grief, betrayal. And I was just like an onion, if you will, a really strong rotten, I guess you would say. I just became so angry and hurt on the inside. So I began to talk, and during my conversations, I was encouraged to write. And to write my feelings. I loved to write as a little girl. My mother she would write. And so I began to just write everything, just my feelings. And I encourage anyone that is going through any feelings that they feel that are stronger than them, to sit down and write, to get in the Word of God. And sometimes we can't feel, sometimes we're just numb. And I've been there. And I would just open up the Bible and say, okay, God, what do you have for me? But he would also say, you've got to read it to know. Because I just wanted the fast, as life is right now, I just wanted the fast fix. And so I just began to write, and I just began to turn things over to the Lord and say, I can't do this on my own. I can't. And there were times I didn't want to. I didn't want to do things. I didn't want to do anything, really. There were times that I can look back now and clearly tell you, if it wasn't for the Lord, I don't know that I'd be here. Mm-hmm. So that was how bad it was. But then when I experienced betrayal, it brought every bit of feeling negative in my life back to me. And I was just shocked, hurt, to know that I had allowed someone to come into my life that was very close to me. And my life, I'm living this life that is not at all what I'm thinking it is, And I know we all have experienced that at some time or the other. But if we look back in Genesis, and when the Garden of Eden, it was perfect. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous. And I just, I just long for that place that God would want us to be at that point before man messed it up with choices. And that's what happens to us, is that we have choices to make, and other people make choices. And sometimes those choices have a ripple effect, and they can destroy the people around them. And so that's betrayal. And, God just whispered to me, because I just felt like giving up, and betrayal kept telling me how, just be in the pity. And God said, no, you're not less than, you're greater than. And I let you know about the lies, because I was like, God, why? And it was more like, why not? Why not? After God gives us a choice, he gives us a choice. When we hear something like, I prayed, open the eyes of my heart. And then when he opened the eyes of my heart, the scenery wasn't at all what I expected. Within 4 days of praying, I found out that someone very close to me was absolutely lying and living a lifestyle that I had no idea. And the thing was, I loved them very, very much. And so where did I go from there? And, the Lord just
that's probably on some levels, Elisa, that sometimes that can be even harder than a death, because a death is an event and you grieve it. And then you have this year where you have all this birthdays and anniversaries and all first experiences, but eventually, like there is closure to death. When somebody has betrayed you, no matter who it is, like there's those questions that pop up. Our brain needs to know why this happened. Why did they do that? Why did they not tell the truth? Why did they, and we never usually get the answers to that. So it can cause even more pain.
Yes, you're so right, and then you take that together, and then take a situation at the same time now. And I know everybody's if you haven't got the tissue out yet, go ahead, because at the same time, I've got a 5-year-old granddaughter in the hospital with leukemia, and we lose her. And so I've got loss. I've got this. Now, the last thing I want anybody to do is feel sorry. I'm here to tell you not about my pity. I'm here to tell you about my Lord, that had he not been holding this little hand, I could not make it. And so I found pain stacked on top and on top and on top of, and I just feel like that God had me to begin writing, and I did. It was how I expressed myself. And a lot of times I did not want to be where I was. Well, in writing, you don't have to do that. I could go to my computer, be anywhere I wanted to be. I could even slap somebody and get away with it by writing. I just wanted to just say, why would you be a part of that betrayal? Because, we think in betrayal, when somebody does us wrong, that there's just them that we deal with. And that's not true. There's a victim and there's a perpetrator. And then somewhere in the shadow, there's a victim and the perpetrator. And we have to deal with, why would you be a part of stepping into my house silently, crawling under a window, whatever, to get into my life and ripping my heart out. So I just, in my writing, just began to find that God was in it, and that whatever I wrote, God must have the glory for it. Because
so it's so interesting. Let's unpack that a little bit, because here you go through this betrayal. Some people might want to write a memoir, but that's not what Elisa did. So tell me how you arrived at a place where you're writing fiction.
Well, you really can't make this stuff up. We had to talk about is this going to be fiction? And I just came to a place where I don't believe there's anything as such as fiction anymore. I believe everything's just about possible in this world today. So that doesn't make it fictitious. That makes it a possibility. And if it's a possibility, then that can be the truth. So no matter how we look at it, I had it was funny and yet eye-opening at the same time. I began to read, and this is what I said. If you've watched the Forrest Gump, he runs and he runs and he runs and he runs and he doesn't stop until one day he just said, okay, I'm done running. And that's kind of how it was about writing. I wrote, and when I finished 2 years of writing, 3 books have come out of it. And I had to make my mind up what I wanted to do with those books. And one with the first one, and that's Toxic Vows, it is when we were going through the editing, it's really funny because there were words that I could not use. And that was like, but come on, that I really feel like, they said you can't use hell, you can't use crazy, you can't use, different things. I'm like, I realized how angry I was in the very first book. I said, wow, I'm really angry in that book. But I also knew this is my book. This is my book. And I'm not going to be so happy if I'm writing about something that tore and has ripped my heart out of my chest. So the first thing that I would say, no matter if you write a book or whether you just write notes to yourself, remember, it's your story. And don't let anybody change it. If you're hurting, you're hurting. And if it is your story. So it was kind of like the very first one, Toxic Vows. I felt kind of bad about the title. Vows are not supposed to be toxic. They're supposed to be beautiful and just genuine. But that's not how life is. Not here anyway.
Yeah.
But it is just not. So the vows of being toxic, I kind of dealt with that with, am I naming that exactly, Lord, what you want? And I realized that it's not about him. He doesn't give the toxic vows. Okay. Mm-hmm. Man's choices.
That's right.
Like in the Garden of Eden, when the devil comes up, there were choices. Some people say, well, it was all Eve's fault because she listened to the devil. Well, I kind of wonder, where was Adam? Why didn't he step on the snake, for his wife and take care of her? So, I mean, it's just a lot of emotions when you start talking about the things that you've gone through with betrayal. A lot.
So is it released yet? Are we allowed to get the book?
Yes, it is released. I'm excited to announce. And I know that's going to look kind of, but it's Toxic Vows. Betrayal Speaks, You're Not Enough. God Whispers, You Are Greater Than. It is published by West Bow Press, which is a part of Thomas Nelson, Zondervan, wonderful groups. You may get it on Amazon.
Okay.
Of course, through West Bow Press and Barnes & Noble.
Perfect.
You should be able to just type it in if you Toxic Vows, Elisa Allison Sproule, and that will help you pull up the books. They're Forever Not Always is in editing. And I'm excited about that one. I believe that one is kind of gives it away. Forever Not Always. We are about our forever thoughts, our forever dreams, and not always is it exactly what we want that we get. So, but we're not alone. And, there's a lot of, I spoke with someone today that was telling me she read the book. She sent me a text message. I received an email, and she said, there was something that was so profound to me. And she said, you put in there that we may not be able to control our injury, but we can control our scarring. And I think that's so true for each and every one of us. You may not have had all the losses. It may just be somebody just hurt you, and it's really, betrayal is devastating. I've talked with women. that have been, they can't, it's almost paralyzing to them, or it has been. And I realize that. And not always is it so easy to say, well, God is with me, because we're numb and we can't feel, but it doesn't mean we're alone.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we're alone in whatever we're doing. So I'm excited about the books. I'm hoping, my prayer is that when it is read, that it, in this book, I'm just going to go ahead and give you a little bit. I won't give you all of it because I want you to read it, because it's healing. As toxic as it sounds, there is healing that God uses, I believe, in scripture. Carson, he's a young doctor. He's set out in life that everything's to be perfect. He comes from a family where everything has been just like they ordered. And possibly some people are from that way and can relate. Some cannot. Brinley could not. She was a young girl looking for just to hang on in life. And so they marry. And the first, it is wild. Carson finds himself at the altar, waiting on his dream come true, come down the aisle. When the wedding director comes out, Monique, and she says, "Where's the bride to be?" And so she's late for her own wedding rehearsal. So eventually everybody goes to the wedding rehearsal, and here she comes. And so she gives a beautiful speech that speaks about how wonderful they are, and makes an excuse that brings everybody to a standing ovation. However, there's particular ladies in there that said, something's wrong with this picture. And so it goes on, and she is not the person that you want to see your son bring home. It's to introduce you to her. She appears to be. So it goes on, and what I really love is that there's a praying mother. Her name is Kate, and she takes everything to the Lord and gets on her knees, and she prays, and what is revealed to her unleashes the facts. Was this match made in heaven? So through the prayers, it goes on to, she was given something very beautiful. And at the end, something happens that I can't tell you.
You can't tell. No telling.
But the example of being, it didn't get the best, even though it wipes this individual out with the betrayal and the way he learns of the lies. Betrayal is one thing. It hurts. But if that person that betrayed us will come to us and try to give us at least a little honesty to stand on, it kind of sort of helps the feeling, or I've felt that way with. But when you have to find out about it, blindsided,
Cuts deep.
Very, very deep.
Gets to the bone marrow, doesn't it?
It really does. But this is a book, Toxic Vows, kind of lets you slap back. It kind of in it gives you have the authority to say, that's all right. That's good, but I'm excited what God is doing. And like I said, just trying to get the word out that betrayal is, you can survive it.
It's real. Absolutely.
It is very real. And in some way, we all share that in one way or the other. Yep. But we're stronger when we are knowing what our foundation stands on.
That's right.
And that's what's made the difference with me. I'm leaving this Wednesday for about 2 weeks. I'm working on my third book, and so I'll be isolating away to work on it. And so y'all pray for me. But it's all about you. I've gone through, hopefully, I mean, if not, there'll be a fourth or fifth or sixth book on out there. And I do plan on some other books, but it's just to say, hey, you with your head down, that do not know, you don't know where to start. There is a beginning, and God's got you. This is not to take your breath away. It's not to take the air out from under your wings. It will for a little bit. And sometimes it's a good place for us to be, where we just take a seat, be still, know He's God, write a book, and then stand up stronger, knowing that we are more than conquerors through Christ. And so I'm excited about what he's doing for others. I just want that person to know that out there that feels like that they're hopeless, that they're not. They're not, and they're not alone. And being with your group, getting in with your group, Melody, your God sent, and the ladies that surround you are. And, I walked in, I will share this too. We met because I walked into her room. I walked into a room of ladies and thought I'd be the only person sitting there because I hurt so bad. And it wasn't. And it turned out to be the group. It was the place that I felt I not only needed to be, I must be within these friends that knew what I was going through, the hurt. And so many blessings to you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep your head up. Love you so much. And to all out there, keep your head up. Toxic Vows.
We'll put all the links in the show notes. And what I was excited about today is that our Life Beyond Betrayal program is actually getting to sponsor you and this podcast. So that is just a win-win. So just super excited, but we'll put all the links in the show notes. Lastly, Elisa, tell everybody how to get in touch with you in case.
Okay, you can. Yes, thank you. You can reach me at Earth Scripts, and that is capital E, capital S, and yes, it's one word. So it's Earth Scripts at earthscripts@outlook.com. Earth Scripts.
Yes. And we'll put that in the show notes as well.
Yes.
Earth Scripts. Say it again. Earth Scripts at
Outlook. Earth Scripts. And that's Earth Scripts. Yes. At outlook.com.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you. I'm super excited to get this out to everybody, for them to read it. And, not only to validate what people have gone through, but also, again, just to have hope. There's something about sharing pieces of your story that breathes hope into the story of another person going through it. And I always say hope breathes hope, breathes hope, breathes hope. And so that excites me.
Well, everyone has a story.
Yeah.
Everyone has a story.
Yep. Everyone has a story.
Yes, you do. And it is valued. You are valuable because listen, I know whatever you're feeling, I felt, I promise you. And I can just tell you're so much more worthy than than the devil wants you to be. Just step on his face.
Well, good luck with this third book. I'll be praying for you about that.
Please do.
What ends up happening with that. But now you got the book bug, right?
Yes, we've got, let's say the Forever Not Always is in editing right now. That's going to be I'm excited about that. The third book that I've been working on, and I'm debating right now, but The Wages of Sin, because that's the thing with betrayal, the wages of sin. As a Christian, I've always, we look and we say the wages of sin is death. Well, at first I always thought that meant you'll lose your breath. And exactly, no. It means, to me, and to what I have seen, it means that sin corrupts and it destroys everything good in that person's life. Yeah. And that to me is the wages of sin. But Toxic Vows and Forever Not Always will be coming out. Well, the Toxic Vows is already out. Forever Not Always will be coming out soon.
Well, and we'll do another podcast show when that book comes out, so you can tee that one up for us as well. This episode has been brought to you by Life Beyond Betrayal. Life Beyond Betrayal is a comprehensive program that provides a community as well as 3 courses for women. The first course is Surviving Trauma Beyond Betrayal. Our second course is called Grieving Beyond Betrayal. And the third course is called Reclaiming You Beyond Betrayal. This is a self-paced program that you can take as long as you want to go through, and also provides a community so that you feel like you have the support that you need. So check out Life Beyond Betrayal membership at lifebeyondbetrayal.com.